Right now, you are standing on the observation deck of a modern skyscraper, or maybe just a sturdy third-floor balcony. You look down through a thick sheet of reinforced glass. Suddenly, your stomach drops, your chest tightens, and your knees start doing a weird, uncontrollable, gelatinous jiggle. You know, you are perfectly safe. Your modern, logical brain knows the structural engineers did their job, but your body simply does not care. That sudden, trembling panic you feel when you look over an edge is not a modern design flaw. It is an ancient, hardwired survival protocol. It is older than skyscrapers, older than concrete, and older than farming itself. It is a biological handbrake passed down through millions of generations of survivors. The question is, why did our ancestors code this specific terror so deeply into our biology? And what is your body actually trying to tell you when your legs turn to jelly? To understand why your knees betray you at the top of a flight of stairs, we have to go back to the absolute beginning of your personal development. We like to think we learn to fear heights after a bad fall when we are kids, but science proves that is completely wrong. In 1960, two psychologists named Eleanor Gibson and Richard Walk at Cornell University set up an experiment that altered how we view human instinct forever. They created what they called the visual cliff. Picture a heavy glass table raised high off the floor. On one half of the table, a high-contrast checkered pattern is placed directly underneath the glass, making it look solid. On the other half, that same checkered pattern is placed 4 feet down on the actual floor, creating the optical illusion of a sudden, sheer drop-off. Gibson and Walk placed dozens of human babies, all between 6 and 14 months old, on the solid side of the table. Then, their mothers stood on the deep, cliffside, holding out toys and calling for them to crawl across. The results were stunning. The babies happily crawled around the shallow side, but when they reached the edge of the optical illusion, the vast majority of them stopped dead in their tracks. They cried. They patted the glass with their tiny hands, sensing that something was solid, but they refused to budge. No amount of bribing from their mothers could make them cross that invisible line. These babies had barely learned to sit up on their own, let alone read physics textbooks, yet their brains already possessed an innate, non-negotiable horror of the abyss that is hardwired evolutionary survival. Think about that. You do not learn to fear heights. You are born with it, waiting to wake up inside your nervous system, but to find out where that programming originally came from, we have to travel much further back in our family tree, long before humans were even human. Millions of years ago, our distant primate ancestors lived entirely in the forest canopy. In the trees, gravity is not just a law of physics. It is an active predator. If you are a tree-dwelling primate, a single miscalculated leap or a snapped branch does not just mean a bruised ego. It means game over. If you fall out of the canopy, you die. And if you die, you do not get to pass your cautious genes down to the next generation. Over millions of years, nature ruthlessly weeded out the reckless, clumsy primates. The ones who survived were the ones whose nervous systems developed a hypersensitivity to changes in elevation. This evolutionary pressure created a direct hotline between our eyes and our vestibular system, which is the delicate fluid-filled balance mechanism hidden deep inside your inner ear. When you walk around on flat ground, your eyes and your inner ear are working in perfect harmony. Your eyes look at close objects like walls, trees, or the ground right in front of you, and they use that visual data to calculate your posture and keep you upright. This is called visual motion parallax. Your brain needs to see things close to you to know that you are standing still, but here is the problem. When you step up to the edge of a cliff or a high balcony, that visual data completely vanishes. Suddenly, the ground directly in front of your eyes is gone, replaced by a massive empty void. The nearest solid object might be a street or a canyon floor hundreds of feet below. Because those objects are so far away, your eyes can no longer use them to calculate small changes in your balance. Your visual system panics. It sends an emergency broadcast to your brain saying, "We have lost our visual anchor, we are falling." Meanwhile, your inner ear is sitting quietly inside your skull, saying, "Relax, we are perfectly still." This massive, conflicting data stream creates a form of neurological vertigo. Your brain cannot handle the mixed signals, so it triggers a massive spike of adrenaline to force you into action. That is why your knees start shaking. The tremor in your legs is not actually a sign of weakness. It is your motor cortex firing rapid-fire bursts of electrical energy to your leg muscles, forcing them to adjust, micro-correct, and prepare to spring backward away from danger. It is a physical alarm system designed to make you unstable so that you actively pay attention to your balance. Your body is literally trying to shake you awake. Here is what makes this so important. This survival system is so ancient and so powerful that it actually shaped the physical evolution of our bodies. When we finally decided to leave the trees, around 4 million years ago, our ancestors began doing something incredibly radical and deeply weird for a mammal. We stood up on two legs. In 1974, in the dusty badlands of Hadar, Ethiopia, anthropologists discovered a 2 million-year-old fossilized skeleton of an Australopithecus afarensis, famously nicknamed Lucy. Lucy was built for bipedalism, meaning she walked upright just like us. But being a biped comes with a massive evolutionary trade-off. Quadrupedal animals, like dogs or lions, have a low center of gravity distributed across 4 pillars. They are incredibly stable. Upright humans, however, are essentially tall, top-heavy towers balanced on 2 ridiculously small platforms called feet. We are inherently unstable. Every single step we take is technically a controlled fall that we catch at the very last second. When a team of researchers at Johns Hopkins University analyzed Lucy's fossilized bone fractures, they came up with a fascinating, tragic theory. The patterns of her broken bones looked identical to modern human victims who fall from great heights. Lucy, our famous pioneering ancestor, likely died from a massive fall out of a tall tree. When we moved out of the canopy and onto the flat African savanna, the danger of heights did not disappear. It became deadlier because our bodies were now much worse at balancing. A fall from a tree branch was bad, but a stumble off a rocky gorge on 2 legs was catastrophic. The stakes of survival skyrocketed, but as human history progressed and our brains grew larger, this ancient fear evolved into something even stranger, leading to a psychological phenomenon that almost everyone has felt but rarely talks about. Imagine you are standing at the edge of that high lookout point. You are looking down, your knees are shaking, and suddenly, out of nowhere, a dark, intrusive thought pops into your head. A tiny, whispering voice asks, "What if I just jumped?" It is a terrifying sensation. You do not want to die, you are not suicidal, yet for a fleeting second, your brain imagines the leap. The French have a beautiful, haunting phrase for this, l'appel du vide, which translates to the call of the void. For centuries, philosophers thought this was a sign of a hidden, dark human desire for self-destruction, but in 2012, a team of psychologists led by Dr. Jennifer Hames at Florida State University decided to study this phenomenon scientifically. They surveyed hundreds of people about this specific feeling and discovered that it is actually a massive evolutionary misunderstanding. Here is what is actually happening inside your skull. When you stand near a drop, your ancient, subconscious survival brain spots the danger instantly and fires a hyper-fast safety signal to your muscles before your conscious mind even realizes what is happening. It screams, "Move back, you are dying." You instinctively flinch or tense up. A fraction of a second later, your slow, logical, conscious brain finally wakes up and tries to interpret why your body just panicked. It looks around, sees that you are standing safely behind a strong railing, and tries to rewrite the story. Your conscious brain says, "Wait, if we were totally safe behind this railing, why did I just have a massive panic attack? I must have wanted to jump." The call of the void is not a death wish. It is a distorted echo of your brain's incredibly powerful, hyperactive desire to stay alive. It is a safety glitch. Your brain cares about your survival so much that it terrifies you just to make sure you stay awake at the wheel. Think about how wild that is. Every time you step onto a balcony, look out a high window, or hike up a mountain trail, your body becomes a battlefield between modern architecture and millions of years of primate evolution. We have built a world of glass, steel, and concrete that towers into the clouds, but we are still driving around in biological vehicles designed for the treetops of ancient Africa. So here is the full picture. Millions of years ago, your primate ancestors developed an intense neurological aversion to falling out of the canopy. Millions of years later, hominids like Lucy stood up on 2 legs, making balance a high-stakes game of survival. Decades ago, scientists proved this terror is born directly into human babies before they can even speak. And today, modern psychology shows that even your weirdest, Darkest thoughts on a ledge are just your brain's desperate, clumsy way of keeping you breathing. The next time you are standing somewhere high and you feel that familiar, icy grip of panic take hold of your chest, do not be embarrassed by your jelly legs. Do not curse your shaking knees. Take a step back, look down at your feet and thank them. That shivering in your joints is not a sign of weakness. It is the living, breathing history of your species echoing through your nervous system. It is the undeniable proof that you are descended from an unbroken line of absolute survivors who looked into the abyss, felt the terror, and chose to step back if you want to keep exploring the weird, chaotic, and beautiful reasons why our ancient brains make us do ridiculous things in the modern world. Stick around. We have plenty of history left to doodle.